He's the best-selling author of 15 novels, 3 collections of poetry, 7 short stories, and more than 70 stage plays, 70, not 17, 70 stage plays that have been performed in 3 languages in 12 countries. He writes in multiple genres, primarily young adult, romance, thriller, and horror. His literary work has appeared in over 100 publications, including the best stage scenes, the best women's stage monologues, the best men's stage monologues, the best 10-minute plays, 105-minute plays for study and performance, and several collections in the Chicken Soup for the Soul book series. He's also a Pushcart Prize nominee, recipient of 2 Los Angeles Film Awards, and he was named a finalist for the Sundance Institute YouTube New Voices Lab and was the emerging writer in residence at the Pennsylvania State University. He graduated with honors as well, Bachelor of Arts in Communications in English and Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing. And he's a graduate of the professional program, Screenwriting at UCLA. And he's written 5 produced screenplays, including the award-winning Dutch film Wagon. That is just the short list, gang, of some of the amazing things that he has done. And we are so excited to have him here on the Jim Masters Show live. Again, there he is on the screen. And if you have had an opportunity to ever read any of his material, you know what I'm talking about. It's riveting. And again, if you would like to comment on the YouTube channel, feel free to do that. And also, we invite you to do it live in our JMS chat room, as the chat room is open and available for you right now. So he's not in LA, although he's headed back to California. He was telling me he is not in New York. He's right now in Denver, Colorado. So let's welcome him to the Jim Masters Show live. How's everybody doing? It's so good to see your faces, your smiley faces. And again, I'm looking at all these comments. It's really fantastic. We've got almost 50 comments built up already. We just started the show. And here he is, live from Denver. How are you, David Matthew?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Jim.
Oh, it's my pleasure to welcome you here. How's your day going? What's a typical day for you like on a Monday?
On a Monday. Sort of a hit the ground running approach to
Yes.
Monday.
For those that are watching live, they could be watching this on a Thursday or a Saturday or any time of the day and year. But are you always writing? Do you always have pen to paper? Are you always creating and thinking of things to say and do all the time and being inspired, David Matthew?
Absolutely. I do write every day. So I'm up very early. I'm a procrastinator, so I'll find a million reasons not to get the writing done.
To do
So if I do it right away, then it's done for the day, and then I can enjoy the rest of the day without knowing I did the writing. So yeah, it's a quiet time in the morning, it's before the day really starts, and the mind is clear, and you can get right to work and let the creative muses find you, so to speak. But I do write every day.
So you do write every day. How did you first get started? You grew up in, you were mentioning the Torrance area in California, right? What were some of those early inspirations for you, David Matthew, to put pen to paper? Did it start early for you as a child?
Mm-hmm. I was a voracious reader. I would read the back of cereal boxes, TV Guide, whatever. I just loved stories and language. Yeah. And I have teachers to thank for my writing beginning. My second grade, Mrs. Carter, my second grade school teacher, she had given us an assignment to write a Halloween themed story, to something short and sweet. And I turned in a 5-page epic called The Blue Witch. And it was about a witch on Halloween who was blue in the sense of sad. And so I had this emotionally complicated character by the time I was 7. And I gave it to her. And she kept me after class, and I thought I was in trouble. And she said, you write really, really well. And she called my mom and said, this is something this is a gift that he has, and encouraged it. And both my moms did. So it was teachers for every step of the way. I've been very fortunate to have very encouraging, life-changing teachers for me.
That's so cool, huh? There's a few teachers I could look to as well who definitely were very, inspiring for me as well. And were you ever able to go back to those teachers to let them know, David Matthew, that they did inspire in that way?
Yeah, especially my college teachers, both undergrad and graduate, who I still talk to. There's some teachers I talk to weekly just to kind of get advice and check in and so forth. And when I became a teacher myself, I really modeled the extraordinary teaching that I had received as a student, and tried to be that sort of pay it forward.
Yeah.
And so I still am very, very fortunate to talk to a lot of the teachers uh, that have had a tremendous impact on me and still do to this day.
So what was an early success for you then? If you look really at your career, there's always those pivotal moments when you get a break, when you get an opportunity to be noticed and seen. And when did people really start to pick up on your writing ability and your skill set?
I wrote when I was an undergrad in Chicago. Speaking of teachers in school, I wrote. I was a broke college student, so I wrote this in the computer lab at Columbia College in Chicago, and I wrote
And that's Baroque, not Baroque. That's Baroque. There's a difference.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I wrote a stage play called Frozen Stars, which was about a young Latin American woman. First person in her family to graduate from high school, and just had all these really crazy decisions to make as a person. And it was produced out of sort of an under the underpass freeway theater that nobody knew existed in Chicago. And a woman named Belle Hernandez, who publishes a Latin trade paper called Latino Heat, happened to see the play, and she wrote about it in her magazine when she got back to LA. She was in town for the Chicago Latino Film Festival, and she had a night off and just happened to see my play. That I think there was maybe 4 people in the audience that night. I'm not kidding you. And then
family.
Right. Yeah. Well, all friends, like friends of friends kind of thing. But and then within 3 months, I was in conversation about adapting Frozen Stars into a film. And it became my first feature film. And I wasn't supposed to direct Frozen Stars. I just wrote the screenplay. And Frozen Stars, a few days before, the director left the project. And so the producers called me and said, "You have to direct this movie because you're the only one who knows the story as well as we need you to." And Frozen Stars it received a premiere at the Directors Guild in Los Angeles, and Netflix DVD picked it up. And Lana Padilla, who was my leading actress, went on to ABC's Once Upon a Time as
Queen Regina. That's right.
And so it's it's an independent coming of age film. It was definitely learned a lot since that film was made, as you can imagine, it being the first film I worked on. But that was the project that really sort of opened doors for me. And I write a lot of stuff for women, for female characters. And I think that was sort of the thing that started to get attention and notice from people within the industry of my work as a screenwriter specifically. So
what was it about that genre that attracted you, specifically writing for women? What was it that really called you?
So I was raised by 2 moms. I grew up with 2 women who raised me, and because of that, I think that I was keenly aware of women's issues and gender roles, and what it meant to be a woman in society, because it was talked about at my dinner table every night. And I think I absorbed that. I think also as a reader, I sort of gravitated to female authors and female, like Judy Blume, who was a huge influence on my writing. And I think that women's stories for me are just much more fascinating a lot of times, and more complex than male-centric stories. And we've had so many male-centric stories that I feel like there's so many more stories to tell for and about women. So I think that's just kind of, I enjoy reading stories about women. I enjoy writing stories about women. Women respond to my work in a really wonderful way. So it's a match made in heaven, for literary heaven. So
absolutely. So what was that first magical publication that really set the stage, where that genre that you're talking about really became super served by you and your work, David Matthew?
In terms of novels, my novel Ambrosia, which is sort of like a Sex and the City, Bridget Jones' Diary kind of genre of a novel about a young woman in Chicago that is left brokenhearted. Her musician boyfriend leaves her on her 30th birthday. That was my first novel. It was also my first best-selling novel, and I was working at a call center at the time as a temp, and I would listen to all of the. I'm a professional eavesdropper. I listened to all of the conversations around me that women were having about dating and men, and just all of the. And I put it all into the book. And Ambrosia was my breakthrough, and then from there, I got a publishing contract with a different publishing company, and then wrote my first 7 novels with them, and then moved on. So Ambrosia was the thing that sort of in terms of books really got the attention for me, and there was a lot of heart and soul in that book for me, and it's really sort of a literary love letter to the city of Chicago. Chicago shows up a lot in my work, especially my novels. It's just such a great city. So yeah, that was probably the thing. That was definitely the thing that got me started and started to build a reader base for me.
Now, you've been a fan of our show too, our series, which I think puts a different spin on everything as well. You've been watching the episodes of the Jim Masters show live series, and you've been commenting and I appreciate that. Thanks for being not only now a guest, so it's like double levity when you're a guest, but also you've been a longtime viewer of this series. Thanks for, all of the wonderful words in that vein.
Well, I mean, what you do is so remarkable and generous, is to give very, many people a platform to talk about their craft and their work. And it's such a great show. I enjoy it immensely as a viewer. Some of my favorite people in the world you've had on this show. And so it's just, I was drawn to it, and I enjoy it immensely.
Who's some of the ones
such wonderful viewers?
The viewer, the Lovities
right before, and
they're our Lovity squad.
Oh, just really the best people, and just so kind and so supportive. And I consider myself a very positive person, and so to find other positive minded people in your viewers, I think it's just such a great community you've brought together.
Are there some episodes or guests that particularly stand out for you that you really enjoyed, David Matthew?
Well, I gotta say Glenn Scarpelli.
Oh, Glenn Scarpelli, yes. One Day at a Time. He was on twice. He was just on recently. Anybody missed that episode with actor Glenn Scarpelli? Take a look. It's archived on our YouTube channel. We had another great conversation, and he was very open with the conversation, as he always is. We have lots of levity and lots of fun.
Yeah, he's I grew up watching him on TV. He was my first crush when I was quite young, and we've become friends since then. And he's just a remarkable human being, and just one of the nicest people with a very big heart. So I hope someday we can collaborate creatively. I really hope to write for him at some point. So
it's nice when you come across folks who really match, whatever the persona is. You sort of hope that, because not everybody always matches exactly what they present, on screen, or whether it's television, film, or what have you. And he really is, he's a great guy, and definitely a class act on many, many levels. So Ambrosia was really the thing that kicked things off for you. And that was kind of exciting. How were you really saying, okay, I think I have definitely found my niche, and I'm going to stick with this? That was big for you.
Yeah, it was definitely big for me. I think, writing is such a strange thing because it's so solitary. You're working at home in your office, and you're spending a year or longer putting a story together, especially a novel, and then you put it out into the world, and it really doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to other people and readers. And with Ambrosia, it felt like such a leap of faith, because up to that point, I'd primarily written in film and theater for stage and screen. And that first novel is always going to be near and dear to my heart, because the responses that I got from that book, from readers and from women who connected with the character, other characters in the book, was so validating for me in such a great way of like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is your thing. And I think I needed that, because you write in a kind of a bubble, it's just you and the characters, and it's quiet, and it's, it can be lonely work at sometimes, but then it becomes something entirely different. And I love that transformative experience as a writer, is that it's yours, and then you share it, and then it belongs to everyone else. And then And then when they reach back and say, you know what, this story meant a lot to me and here's why, then you know you have done your job as a writer. You've told a good story.
Right, exactly. You know, and we're going to talk about some of the incredible works, but in addition to writing, you know, books, also screenplay and
Mhm.
poet and playwright. Tell us about that other aspect, additional aspect of your passion, David Matthew.
You know, at the heart of it, I always self-identify I'm a storyteller, and I think
Right. It's a good way to
um,
do it.
what the challenge, I guess, for me sometimes is to figure out the best form that story needs to be told in, and so I'm really very lucky that I write in multiple forms because if I get an idea, like we were talking about earlier, I hear an idea or something comes to me, immediately I think, okay, is there value here? Is there story potential here? And then if there is, then I say, is this a play? Is this a screen? Does this need to be a movie? Does
Hmm.
this need to be? Is this a book? And so then once that's sort of figured out, is then I write in that form. But a lot of times, I have to sort of let myself be open to learning from my own writing because I wrote it was originally a short play called A Sort of Madness. It's about an American woman. It's set in the 1960s in Madrid. And she's sort of very fascinated with the life and loves of movie star Ava Gardner
Oh,
and
yeah.
goes to Madrid and tries to find some sort of connection with Ava Gardner. And it was a short play. And I have to tell you, that play did nothing. It made no noise. It was,
Nothing.
because it was the wrong form. And then I
Mhm.
realized about 2 years after I'd written the play, needs to be a film.
Yeah.
And the moment that I turned it into a screenplay, it took off. And so sometimes just knowing the right form is so critical for me. But I enjoy all four of those forms. I'm very lucky. I absolutely, as I'm sure you can tell, love what I do. It's a blessing. But but it's very fun to kind of write in those different forms. Each of them have its own challenge, and each of
Yeah.
them inform the other form. So like writing poetry taught me about the brevity of language that I could then carry over to scripts. And so they all kind of like blend and lead into each other. But you know, I'm always a student, and so I'm open up to the universe just to be taught something
That's
new
a
every day.
beautiful way to look at it. Right. I was going to say, open to the universe to be taught. What are some of the things that inspire you along the way? Do you always have your eyes and ears open and you're sort
Hmm.
of observing what's going on around you and taking little notes and saying, boy, that would be a great story. Or, gee, that would be something interesting. What are some of the things that inspire you to create in the way that you do, David Matthew?
I'm so I think my writing can be sort of summed up. My whole objective as a writer is I enjoy writing about seemingly ordinary people that are experiencing extraordinary circumstances and how those circumstances change them forever. And I like writing about real people or realistic people. I like writing about struggles and all that sort of thing. I get so much from observing and listening. And you know, I also feel a deep set responsibility as a writer that um that there's certain stories that need to be told that haven't been told very much. I enjoy writing a lot for young people, as you talked about in the young adult genre. And I just feel like as I go through my life every day and I'm listening to conversations and meeting new people and hearing their stories, people love to share stories with me. I'm very, very lucky in that regard. And just sort of I feel like a satellite in so many ways of like all of this information will come to me and then I sort of filter it out and figure out what needs to go where and what stories need to be told and what stories need to be told now and what stories I can wait until later. So I just feel very lucky. Stories find me constantly, no matter where I go. I know you travel a lot and I love to travel too. And traveling is one of the greatest, just sitting in an airport and watching people,
It's people
I'm
watching.
like, there's a whole new story. There's a whole new scene from a play there. So just being open to that and just letting the stories find me and then figuring out which of these need to be told and in what form and how and so forth. So it's a very
When
it's a
you,
very interesting life. I don't think I
it
walk into
is.
any room the same way
I
as other
just
people
say,
because I know I'm looking always like, where's the story in here? So
so would you say in recent years that what you've been observing in the airport is worthy of a thriller or a horror movie?
a little bit of drama, a little bit of horror for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't been in an airport in a minute, I gotta tell you. It's gonna be strange to go back to one for
To
sure.
go
But
back to what?
It just, but and I think we're all forever changed after what we've just gone through and still kind of going through. But
what have you learned about yourself? We talk about that a lot here on the Jim Masters Show. Some of those teachable moments we've all learned about ourselves, our lives, our way of being, what we want to do going forward, and some of the things that we want to do to inspire and connect people. What did DM, and folks, he said we can call him DM as well. What did you, DM, what did you learn about yourself? What were some of those teachable moments you learned during the course of the last couple of interesting years, to say the least, in our lives?
A couple of big takeaways for me. I think everybody got a little introspective and reflective during this one because we had a lot of time. We were all at home thinking about things. But for me, I felt a deeper awareness of the importance of family and people that I had known for many, many years, sort of my foundation, my roots. And I found myself missing that. I think a lot of people who weren't maybe living close to relatives or lifelong friends during that, I think I realized how much I needed that element in my life, just as a person, not even so much as a writer. And then I think the other thing too is just about being present. I sadly lost a few people during the pandemic to COVID. And I think with each of those deaths, it really made me aware of the significance of being present, of just being in the moment and enjoying the moment. I like you, I know I go and I go and I go, but I really found myself forced to stop and sit still and listen and just feel. And it was extraordinary. It was very transformative for me. I think I came out of, I'm still, I think, in the I think we all are, but I think I'm coming out of this just forever changed in a very deep way. I feel like my work has changed in terms of subject matter, in terms of,
I was going to say, what are some of the subtle ways where maybe your approach or content has changed as a result of what's been experienced, David Matthew?
Absolutely. I think we all are in some way or another. It's like,
how's it for you? What are some examples of ways that you're approaching things differently for you?
That's such an excellent question. I really feel like, well, for one, I'm writing my best work I've ever read in my life. I don't know where that came from, but I feel like I got a little rest. I feel like I got a little stop. I feel like I got a little bit of time to reassess and say, what are the stories that if this was your last story, what are the significant things that you need to put in it? And I truly feel like the work that I've written in the last 2 years, it's very strange. I don't know what happened to me creatively, but it just went to a different level. I feel like there was much more attention paid to craft, storytelling, and so forth. But I think that was just a byproduct of me being able to stop for a moment and say, okay, what do I really want to do? What are the stories that I want to be responsible for and attribute it to my name? And so I did. That's exactly what I did. I changed the approach, and not that I was writing necessarily just strictly commercial stuff before, but I think that I now have taken everything a little bit to a deeper place, like in terms of character, plot, all those things, because I'm feeling that myself. And I'm like, if I'm feeling this, I bet other people are feeling this too. So
so you like the relatability then, which is essential, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. It's a good way to look at, the things that have happened and the way that they've shaped our lives in recent years. Anything that I don't think any of us could have scripted other than maybe Rod Serling or George Lucas or
Ray Bradbury, maybe.
Ray Bradbury. Exactly. I mean, it's like Rod Serling. Yeah, that for sure. Stephen King, Steven Spielberg,
right.
Any of those fine folks. And some of the things that you're working on now, like congratulations on this.
Yes.
This has been recent. I know this has been a real baby for you. Tell us about Love in the Shadows. That was a teaser we had in the beginning.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, and I have to tell you the response. Thank you. The response of this book has just been fantastic. It's always a gamble when you put out a book, but this one really seems to be finding a lot of readers, and I'm just so grateful to it. Love in the Shadows is one of my few novels that takes place in Europe exclusively, and I lived in Europe for a year, and a lot of the places in the book were places I spent time in and visited. I love Europe. I would live there if the world let me. But it's
where would you live in Europe?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Where in Europe would you like to go if you were to live somewhere in
Oh,
Europe?
you know, I would Italy, France, or Spain. Any of those.
Any of those.
I would be happy. Yeah. I just think there's so much incredible culture and reverence for art and just cuisine. I mean, there's just so many things to love. But I'd never written a spy thriller before, and I was always so fascinated with like James Bond. And I grew up
Ooh.
reading, I devoured every Nancy Drew book that my mother owned. So I was always really fascinated, like mystery and solving a case. And so you know, I pitched this to my publisher and they were like, yep, let's do it. And so it's I hopefully it's a fun ride. I tried when I wrote it, I treated it sort of, it's very cinematic the way that I wrote it because I was thinking like movie images. Um, but at the heart and soul of it, it's really a love story. It's between a spy, an Italian spy named Luca, and an American journalist named Quentin. And I was really, the whole concept is based on two people meeting in the dark and they don't see each other, but they connect like in a deep way. And then they spend half of the book trying to find each other again. So it was a lot of fun to write. A lot of research went into it. I had to research like Secret Service and what it means to be a US ambassador in another country. But I hope readers enjoy it. It was so much fun to write. And the responses I've been getting from people, they feel like it's been a good thrill ride. So
How long did it take to write? When did you first come up with that inspiration for it?
From the time that I thought of the idea, a book takes about 18 months to see the light of day from the time you turn it in. I wrote it over a period of about 2 years, mostly, and some of that's a little slower for me. Usually I do a book in about 8 months to a year, but it was because of the research and I just wanted to get it right. And I'm such a stickler for authenticity. I feel like I owe it to my readers to tell the best story I can. So I took a little extra time to get all the facts right or as close as I could. But I have to tell you the ending of the book, which I won't give away any plot spoilers, was a point of discussion with me, editor, everybody about which choice the main character should make at the end of the book. So so after the book's been out for a while, I'll email you and tell you a little bit more about that. I don't want to give any plot spoilers away because it's a brand new book, but
Right.
the ending was a point of discussion with a lot of people about what choice I should make creatively as a writer. But I'm glad I stuck to my guns, and I'm glad
You followed your heart, right?
Yeah, I work with such an Leah is my editor's name. I've worked with her, gosh, 10 or 11 books now, and I have the best editor in the world, and she challenges me with those questions. Is this the right choice? Is this the choice you want to make? And it's good to have that person who's just fact checking me before the book goes out. But yes, I hope yeah, there's
How'd you come up with the cover?
So I can't claim any of that. That's all the beautiful work. A woman named Stephanie is the cover designer for this particular book. I think she's in London, and she owns a cover design company. And my publisher worked with her on Love in the Shadows, and she's done the cover for 5 of my novels, I think. And I love her work. She's by far one of my favorite cover designers. She just gets the aesthetic of what I write.
She's all excited to let me do it. I want to do it. I love it. I love your writing. So you work on it. And that's cool when that happens, right?
For
That's
sure.
rare.
I'm very lucky. Very, very lucky.
Yeah. So it's doing well, and it's available now from best-selling author David Matthew Barnes, the latest in his collection, Love in the Shadows. Is there a particular reader in mind with this book or any of your work, specifically like this one, or is this really for anybody? I know you said you lean female in terms of some of the content material, but is this particular book for anybody?
I think this is I think regardless of gender, I think if you like a good thriller and you like a good love story and you want to travel the world without leaving your living room or your bedroom or your library, this book will hopefully take you there. But some of my other books are much more audience specific. My biggest selling novel, which is called Marijuana Mermaid. I know the title is pretty provocative, but it's a young adult novel that came out last year and has outsold all of my books collectively. So
Wow.
I'm very grateful to
You
Marijuana
must
Mermaid
have been on a high when you heard about that.
Yes, and it took me, I have to tell you, just
Pun
for
intended, folks.
if any of your viewers are writers, this book was turned down, gosh, by at least 25 or 30 publishers and probably 100 agents.
Did
And
they say because of the title?
that I was writing pretty provocatively because it's a teenage book. But it's don't let the title fool you. It's still, there's a lot of heart and soul in that. But a wonderful publishing company who's my publisher today, KL Publishing. It's a female-owned publisher and based in Los Angeles. They now publish all of my books. They took a chance on me and in the book, and it's done. It's going to be an audiobook very soon. And they really supported the book. They got the book, they understood it, they got it into the hands of the right readers and so
That's
forth.
great.
And
What's it
so
about?
it's about a young woman named Leah, and she lives in Chicago with her mother. Her parents are divorced. She's kind of estranged from her father. She acts out a little bit of rebellious behavior, and as a byproduct of that, consequence of that, she's sent to live with her father in California. And there she's befriended by two very popular girls, and there's a lot of consequences for becoming their friends. And she gets a job at an aquatic, like aqua themed theme park, and dreams of being a star in the underwater mermaid show that they have there. And it's about her just coming of age and coming to terms with her parents' divorce and sort of atoning for her behavior in the past and really becoming, there's a love element to it as well. But young readers have really responded beautifully to the book. I couldn't be happier. And
the cover's incredible too. Tell us about the cover. Again, did she do that too?
No, this was I don't know the name of this cover designer. My publisher picked this cover. They do great work with the covers as well too. When they pick the covers, I'm like, you got it, you're good. And then they published I have a holiday romance novel that came out right after Marijuana Mermaid, which is also done very well, called The Everlasting Gift. And if you like a good holiday romance, we've gotten a lot of really good interest from some streaming networks about turning that into a Christmas holiday film, so we're sort of waiting. You know what that's like, that waiting game.
Absolutely. Hey, we've got some really cool photos here we want to sprinkle into the conversation. Tell us about this, Anne Page.
Anne Page, that's my great aunt. She was
really.
Yes. So I come from a long line of entertainers, and she was in two films in the 50s. She was in China Doll with Victor Mature, and she was in The Young Lions with Montgomery Clift and Hope Lang and a bunch of other people. She started out as a model and ended up doing a couple of movies and then retired from the film industry, but an extraordinary woman. And, I hope to do half of what she did in her lifetime in terms of creating a name for herself. And just
has there been any sort of biographies or anything? Is there anything that you would do?
Yeah, I'm waiting for the right time. I feel like I just had a really wonderful conversation a few nights ago about Anne Page with my cousin, who was her mother was Anne Page's sister. And so we talked about the fact that there's very little information out there about her that's so I feel like it's up to me, it's on my shoulders, and I take that responsibility on with love, because I really would love to lift up her memory and just let her live on, and what she was able to do as a woman in the industry at that young age and so forth. There's so many great stories that sort of like folklore in my family at this point, that at some point, yes, I need to tell Anne Page's story.
The bloodline is there, exactly, and that creative sort of bent is there as well. That may have been passed down to you, my friend.
I feel like for sure. I definitely feel it.
Look at this shot.
This is taken on the set of Frozen Stars, the film I was talking about earlier. And that's me with the cast. And this photo, there was a soundtrack to the movie. And this was I think this might have been on the CD at some point. But yeah, I think it was like 105, and we were filming in the San Fernando Valley. So we were all like melting in this picture, but it was
the opposite of Frozen.
And so many of these people have gone on and done other extraordinary things. Yep, that's us on the set of, that's Ray Gallegos, who went on to do DMZ and Sons of Anarchy, and of course Lana Padilla that everybody knows and loves as the evil Queen Regina from Once Upon a Time. I have to tell you, she and I were in a play together right before Frozen starts up at the Stella Adler Theater in LA. And from the moment I met Lana, I said, you've got to be, I knew Frozen Stars was going to become a film at that point. And I said, you've got to be the leading actress. And she just poured her heart and soul into that film and that performance. It was her first film, and mine too. And I just remember just sitting back and watching her and how extraordinary it was, and such a incredibly, I'm not surprised by her success at all. It's very well deserved.
You know, I mentioned best-selling author of some 15 novels and 3 collections of poetry, 7 short stories, and more than 70 stage plays that have been performed in 3 languages and 12 countries. I mean, that's incredible, huh?
Thank you. I'm sure, Jim, I'm sure it's a form of insanity. But
you have to work it out. You've got to get it out through these genres. Also, too, I'm fascinated by the 105-minute plays for study and performance and the best 10-minute plays. Tell us about all of that. That's exciting.
I owe my playwriting career to a woman named Jocelyn Beard. I was, again, broke college student in Chicago. And way back in 1999, Jocelyn was the editor of the Best Of collections, anthologies at Smith & Krause, a wonderful publishing company. They've published many of excerpts in my plays and many books. She put out a call and for submissions, and I submitted 3 or 4 of my short plays, and she chose scenes and monologues from each of those and put those in the best women's monologues and so forth, and literally launched my playwriting career from the moment those books came out, and I'm forever indebted to her. Since then, Smith & Krause has put me in about 20 of those different collections, and each time they do, it just creates wonderful things for me as a playwright, and people reach out, and yeah, I've been very, very fortunate that my plays have been performed in incredible places, from Guam to Dubai to off Broadway. I wrote when I was in graduate school in Charlotte, North Carolina, my creative thesis was an all-female play. It's 3 women in the play. It's called Skylines, which we're actually turning into a film. But
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I could not get that play produced. It was in monologue books, and it won a couple of awards. But I think it was, at the time, a lot of theaters, the artistic directors of theaters were men. And I think that they just weren't getting the play. And it took, I don't know if you know her, the actress Margaret Champagne. She's in New York as well. Sure. She works a lot with Amy Schumer.
She's a very bubbly personality.
Yeah, she's lovely. I love Margaret Champagne. It took her to champion the cause of the play, and she took it off Broadway and directed it. And so that's how Skylines got to do that. But, anytime somebody produces or performs, there's many actors perform my monologues for my plays for auditions and so forth. And it just warms my heart, because it just helps those characters and those stories live on. And theater is such a beautiful art form. I know you're a fan of theater as well. So
it's kind of cool when you see it come to life, either on stage or in film or on television, huh? Is that always sort of the underpinning, like the hope underneath it all, or you just create it, and if that is what it can lend itself to, then you're like all for it? Or are there some where you're like, gee, I really want to keep it in that initial form that it was in? Are there sometimes it just doesn't adapt well to other forms?
Yeah, not every project you touch is as successful as you want it to be. And my successes have surprised me in my career. I'll be honest with you. The things that have been more successful for me were the things that I don't think anybody in my team or in my rooting for me thought that it would be
even happening, right?
Right. And then the things that you think are going to be the breakouts just sit quietly sometimes, but that's okay. And I love that element of surprise. I love that unpredictability. It keeps me on my toes as a writer, quite honestly. But I want to just to speak a little bit about what you're saying about, when I was talking earlier about being sort of that solitary writer, and then you put it out in the world. I love the collaboration that both theater and film bring. So as a screenwriter, I write a screenplay, and it's really an architectural blueprint for a director and a producer. So I got to do my job. And then And then it becomes something completely different. They lift it from the page and it becomes a completely different form in terms of cinema. And I love that. I love that it transforms itself into, from a script on page to something that people go and see in a theater or at home and have some sort of experience with it. And I love that a designer reads my script and says, here are the colors that we need to use and the textures. Here's what the costumes need to look at. Here's what the lighting needs to be. Because that's not my talent. My talent is just to tell the story, and that's my job. So I love that when other people take it and have a hand in bringing it to that life that you're talking about, because then there's a piece of all of those designers and other artists in the final product. So you've told the story, but they've helped bring it to life. And so it's just, I just love it so much, of just sitting back, because my job is done. I feel like when the script is done, I literally step out of the process and let it.
Now, is that easy? Because I know sometimes when it is your baby, it is your creation. It's almost like a child, and you're very attached to it, and you're very, protective of it. Do you have the ability in that way to easily hand it off? Some people have said, no, I'm a nervous wreck when I do. Others have said, well, I have made sure that I'm surrounded by a skilled, expert, trusted team who are experts at what they do. And I know, like, for example, we had a songwriter from London, composer actually, on yesterday. She composes the music for the royal family, all of their music and so much more. And I said to her, her name is Olga Thomas. I said, so Olga, when you compose these masterful works, are you okay with now letting the orchestrator, the arranger, the others come into play? Or are you there with them every step of the way as they're working on what they're working on? She said, no, I have trust in, and I have surrounded myself by some of the world's greatest people who are masters at what they are and what they do. So I'm okay to let it go into their hands, and they make additional magic with what I've created. How about for you, David Matthew? Are you able to, have you surrounded yourself with those people who, if you hand it off for them to then do what they have to do, you're comfortable and you can sleep at night?
Absolutely. And I really enjoyed Olga's interview, by the way. And it was profound. And I really, what a lot of what she said resonated with me on this level. And I feel maybe early on when I was too young to know better, I felt like I'm going to insert my opinion into a conversation about the project. But now I know better. I'm the first person that I don't have all the answers. I'm a writer. And that's what I'm supposed to do. And that's what I do. But all of those other elements, I know better, that there's other people that know better. And so I just kind of sit back and let them do their work. And there is trust, that, like you said, it is, it's your darling, as William Faulkner said. And it's, you have to hand it off, and you have to trust that it's going to be in good hands, and that the final product is going to be close to what you imagine the way the story should be told. But I love that element of surprise. I'm notorious for taking leaps of faith. So if somebody, I'll give you a great example. The film Wagon, which was the Dutch film, which I didn't write in Dutch, I wrote in English. A wonderful, brilliant, talented filmmaker named Koen Haver from the Netherlands read the script and saw it in his native language, Dutch. And he asked me, can I translate this story into Dutch? And I never in a million years would have considered writing that screenplay in Dutch. But I said, something in me said, trust this man. He is a brilliant filmmaker. He knows what he's doing. And the end result won many awards at film festivals around the world. And so I knew in that moment to trust and to sit back, because he knew what he was doing. And the end result is just an absolutely gorgeous film. So it's, but I think that you have to work to get to that place. I don't think you're at that place when you're just starting out as a writer. I think you are very protective of your work because it's all you know. But I think as you move forward in your career and just in life in general, and just sort of being open to knowing that other artists can bring something entirely, they're bringing their experience and their everything to the story. And then it becomes something even greater sometimes than you had hoped for. So
isn't that something, how that happens? Sometimes when you have others brought in, it can be enhanced, like a piece of music or any art. It can be enhanced because other eyes are coming in. You don't have where people rewrite the work, right? Once you've written it, nobody can rewrite it or alter it from the writing perspective, right?
No, typically they'll come back to me to do rewrites, and that's usually determined before the project of how many rewrites and so forth. But I love the rewrite process, quite
You
honestly,
do.
because it's a teachable moment. And again, I want to be the student in that situation. So, yeah, I don't mind it. Now, Frozen Stars, my first film, because I was very new, I think they made me do, I kid you not, 32 rewrites on that
And
script.
is it for the audience's edification? Is it the publisher that says rewrite? Who decides it needs to be rewritten?
In the sense of film, it's usually the producer, sometimes the
Right.
director, sometimes the actors who have script approval. I'm sure you know many of them who do. So they might determine that, they want their last name to be this and so forth. And those are just minor changes. On the book side of things, I turn in a manuscript to my editor. The editor redlines the heck out of the manuscript, sends it back to me. I make those changes, or there's pages of notes on a book.
Yeah.
Takes a good week or two to really go through the book and do all the edits. And then it goes to another sort of line edit, copy edit process, and before it sees the light of day. But I love that process. I really do. It makes me a better writer, and that's always my goal. And it just it just makes the story better. And I'd rather take the time and do the edit and the rewrite for a better film or a better play or a better book for all purposes.
What's harder for you? I've asked this of writers, and I have friends that are writers too, all kinds, journalistic writing, all different kinds of writing. Is it harder to put the first few words on paper for you, or to know when it's complete, last period on the last sentence, you're good, you're comfortable? Or are they both equally as hard? Well, what do you find to be getting going and getting those? Because sometimes, and I know I've done it in writing short stories through school and everything. It used to be I would overthink all the words, even the thes and the ands, and every word in the beginning when you're first starting out is of great value and grandeur and significant importance. And then you realize maybe not. It's how you use the various words. And so sometimes knowing when to begin would be tough. Knowing when to end it and not have it turn into Moby Dick would be hard as well. How about for you, doing it as prolifically and as often, obviously, as you do? Harder or equal?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I kind of have this strange thing. I usually, especially with novels, I usually have to know how I'm getting into the story, so that opening scene, and how I'm getting out of the story, that closing scene. And once I know those two elements, I feel like the writing can flow. It's the middle section that I struggle with quite, and I think a lot of writers do that. Act two, I think that we all sort of, that's like if a panic attack is going to happen, it's an act two. But it's because you have it's the bridge. You can't figure out the bridge to get you from point A to point B, and I think that's a challenge for sure. But how I pick
the link, the bridge. Yeah, that makes sense. The bridge, obviously, right? Because you want it to. Do you find when you're working on the bridge, does it have to blend beautifully, or can it have a complete left field twist? Or that depends on, I guess, the genre of what you're doing, right?
Yeah, I really let my characters sort of surprise me sometimes. I wrote one of my young adult novels, Swimming to Chicago. I had written the novel. It's a teenage book, and there was a character in it that's a mother, and she was so fascinating to me as a writer that I kept putting her in scenes, and soon she had like 5 full scenes in the book. And my publishers were like, your 15-year-old reader does not care about the mom. Give her own book later if you want to. And I had to make a critical choice. We got rid of like all but 2 of her scenes, I think. But I think that just like trusting your instincts but you also have those people that are gonna correct you and put you in place politely when you need to. But I come at it with a plan. I do have an outline that I work from, or at least kind of have a structure of where I'm going. Especially novels are, really by far the hardest thing to write for me, at least, because of that, because of all of the plotting and planning and so forth. So I work from that, but I allow myself to make changes in the book. And when I was writing The Everlasting Gift, that's probably the book that I did that the most in, is the original concept of that versus the finished product, or almost two completely different stories. And Everlasting Gift, interestingly enough, was a screenplay before it was a novel. But and so it's I wrote it in the professional program in screenwriting at UCLA as my final project, The Everlasting. And so it was a screenplay. And then a classmate of mine said, this would be a really good novel. And then the light bulbs. But that process, that workshop setting at UCLA really helped. It completely changed the story. So from the original plan that I had, but I had to be open to saying, you know what, others might know better than I do. And getting that feedback from my instructors and readers and beta readers and so forth, it turned out to be a much better story and book because of it. So
what's that one about?
That's about it's sort of based on my life a little bit. I was really fortunate when I was young and a college student. I worked with a lot of inner city youth in an after school cheerleading and arts program. And it was I did it for 5 years of my life. And it was by far one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever had. And I took those experiences of working in that neighborhood and with those students and put it into the book. But it's about a young woman. Her name is Charlene Vega. She's a college student and she's a music student. And she loses her scholarship and a lot of things happen. So she has to get a job, and she ends up getting a job with a local parks and recreation. And she gets assigned to direct a holiday variety show at the elementary school that she went to many years ago. And she's done everything she could to sort of leave her past behind. And she's forced to come to terms with her past and falls in love with the community and falls in love with a man. And it's all centered around Christmas. So it's a very feel good. It's by far the most feel good thing I think I've ever written in my life.
Something that's worthy probably of the Hallmark Channel, I don't doubt.
It's so interesting that you say that, because I think every reviewer that reviewed when it came out last Christmas all mentioned Hallmark. So, and we've talked to Hallmark.
And so you've seen the episode where my buddy Paul Green was on, right? Who is all over the Hallmark Channel with When Calls the Heart and the Christmas shows and movies with he was on recently as well. And
that's a great role for him in The Everlasting Gift. No, that was a great interview too. All of your interviews, of course, are wonderful. But yeah, so it's I really I wrote The Everlasting Gift at the peak of the pandemic, and I just felt like people needed some love, and people needed some romance and Christmas,
some levity.
Exactly. And so that book was just written out of a place of nothing but pure joy. And it's done very, very well. It's a lot of my readers, that's their favorite novel of mine. So I appreciate it. Anytime people read anything I write.
That's fantastic. Well, congratulations on that as well. Here's another.
That's a brand new stage play of mine. It hasn't.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I just finished writing that.
Tell us about this one.
It's about two young women that are roommates, and they're sort of trying to navigate their early 20s in Chicago, and loves and losses and failures and bad jobs and fights with mothers and all sorts of things. But it's one of my more theatrical plays. I did a lot of breaking of the fourth wall in this particular piece. And so it'll see how it flows, how it happens, and so forth. We're in talks right now about getting this up on its feet, like in a workshop. So, but it's got really strong female characters in it. I think it's pretty funny. Just I'm going to say that because I wrote it, but yeah, it's a very fun,
look at good. We need more of that. Exactly.
Yeah.
An interesting slice of life. How about this one too?
That's my most recent poetry collection. If anyone is interested in reading my poetry, it's sort of a collection of all of my poetry over a 20-something year career as a poet. And it's all very free verse and a lot of different topics. And from some political stuff. I wrote about, the water crisis in Flint, Michigan, in a poem in that book, but also just, growing up. And there's a great poem in there that I love called Cherry Drop about being on a playground in the 1970s and what that was like. So just very it's very autobiographical, obviously, because it's poetry, but poetry for me is it's very vulnerable. Because it feels like you're giving your diary to people to read. So, but I also love the form a lot too. So, yeah,
that's fantastic. Congratulations! And the cover on this one?
That was done by a man named James, who is in London. So, yeah, he was.
And they didn't get you in that suit, did they?
No, that's not me. I promise. Although I probably would do it because I pretty much do anything in the name of art. But no, it's no. And I loved the cover. I have a very scary Easter picture from when I was about 6 or 7 that I post every year around Easter with this terrifying Easter bunny, like the scariest Easter bunny. My mother still apologizes to me for this day for that. But so I thought it was so much of the book or the poems are about childhood. So I thought it was a nice correlation between the two, and just sort of like disillusionment versus, looking to the world with the eyes of a child as an eye. So
right. That's beautiful. Beautiful way to look at it. Here's another one too.
That's another.
She has a party to go to.
Mm-hmm. This is a play about envy between women, and it's 4 women in the play.
That exists? Ladies watching, lovely ladies, what do you think? Is there envy between the ladies? Let's see if the comments stop or if the comments start pouring in. Now's your time to let us know. He's having a drink on that one.
I was in a.
I see comments. That's good.
I hope they're good.
Actually, Kathleen in New York, she's saying, all the books have great covers. Do you have input on the artwork?
Sometimes I do much more on the plays and the so forth, but on the novels, I usually really put all that trust into my publishers. Now they'll send me a couple of choices to choose from, but they know how to get to create a great cover. But thank you for that. I'm going to pass on Kathleen's comment to the cover designer. So Sherry
Larson says, not in this group. So there's no, in Loveday Hall, there is no envy amongst them all. pretty peppy here. Exactly. Yes, yeah. Tell us about this. So that's cool. I bet she has a party to go to. So a short play, like you're saying, congratulations on that as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it's an all-female play. It's I was in a store and there was this woman who was really decked out and just very just she was going to be in a parade or something like that. And this woman who was in line in front of me, she had 3 or 4 kids with her. She just looked exhausted and just tired and just, needed a break and a vacation. And she looked at this woman in all of this get up and said, I bet she has a party to go to. And there's the title of the play. And I was standing behind her and there was this look of just deep envy on her face that she really wanted that level of freedom that this woman had. And she didn't. And in that moment, I just saw so much emotion. And I didn't know this woman and either women. And I went home and it just stayed with me, like her reaction of just wanting something that she didn't have. And so I wrote this play from that place of just being in a position in life because of choices that you've made or whatever situations that have led you there, and seeing somebody else that has the opposite, they're completely unencumbered and free, and what that means and so forth. Very cool. I don't know how this one's going to do. It's pretty,
it's brand new. Yeah,
it's brand new. So yeah, we'll see. But it's
so where can we see like these types of things, something like this? Where is it? Do you bring it to a small theater and sort of work it out there, test it there first? How's the process work?
Definitely. So I sometimes we'll do table readings just with actor friends of mine, so that I can hear the script and fix it during the editing process and so forth. But typically, before the script is published, it will always be produced and put up on its feet. So all the sort of like any kinks or whatever can be worked out on the editing process before it goes out in print and so forth. But yes, I learned the most from production as a playwright, because plays are written to be performed. So I, sit in the audience of a workshop production of a play, and I listen and I feel and I get feedback from the audience, and I get a sense of timing and what's working, what's not working. Then I go back and then I fix it, and hopefully for the better. And then it from there. But you know, I mean, theaters around the world have been very, very kind to my work and very supportive of my work. Many of my early plays were produced in Chicago because I was a student there at the theater school at DePaul. And then and it was a great training ground for me because a lot of these small theaters, the stakes weren't so high. So I was able to produce some of my earlier plays and really develop and hone my craft as a playwright in small theaters. And I'm indebted to them forever because that's where my plays grew and came from. So yeah.
Antonio is a fabulous Italian pastry chef and a big friend and fan of our show. And Antonio, your package arrived today with some goodies in it from Dublin to Ireland. He's an Italian pastry chef in Dublin, Ireland. Kind of interesting, right?
That's a novel.
That's a novel right there. An Italian pastry chef in Dublin. I bet he stands out. And he sent this fabulous package with some goodies in it, which we're going to thank you very much, Antonio. But he says, an interesting author. I'm looking for a book of his in Dublin. So if somebody is anywhere, where do they find the work?
Amazon carries everything I've ever written. I mean, Barnes and Noble, other places do, but if you're in the UK, I would try Amazon UK, and they carry a lot of my stuff. But if he does read it, Antonio, I'd love to hear from you. I love feedback from all of
readers and viewers, and let them know you heard about it here on
the good and the bad. Honestly, I mean, I all of it makes me a better writer, and that's constantly the goal. So isn't
that important? And Lachelle is here, and
she's my publisher. So
she's the publisher.
Yeah,
sit up straight. The publishers.
We got a VIP.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Welcome, Lachelle. That's really wonderful to have you here.
She is responsible for The Everlasting Gift and Marijuana Mermaid getting into the hands of readers. Lachelle from KL Publishing took a huge chance on me, and I'm very happy to be a member of the KL family. And I just the Pitch Out, which is my next book with them. It's a baseball themed romance. I think will be out later this year. So I'm very, very grateful to Lachelle. And thank
Joan Sando's watching. Your gift is a gift. We didn't know how special the original writer was. You are special, David. And because of Jim, I'm happy to meet you, and continued success. That is
very sweet. Thank you.
That is really beautiful. We have something else here I know that's near and dear to your heart we want to show our viewers. Welcome, everybody. If you're watching for the first time, this is the Jim Masters Show, live entertainment, lifestyle, variety talk show series. We've done about 660 episodes, 7 days a week, just about live since we launched in April of 2020. That's a lot of shows. Usually it takes TV shows about almost 10 years to get to 500 episodes. We've done that in only 2 years' time with all of you watching around the world. If you haven't had a chance, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. That's where we house all of these great episodes, all of these incredible shows from the Jim Masters Show live series. And give this episode a like and a thumbs up as well. We would love it. The name of the show is the Jim Masters Show, and the TV channel, or as we call it, our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. We have something else here that, and thanks to those of you who have subscribed, we really appreciate that. And I know you're a subscriber, David Matthew, and we appreciate that as well. And that's so kind of you. This one here, tell us about this one.
Oh, this is Nancy and Elizabeth. For those of you, many of you won't know who they are, but these are the two women who raised me. And I am forever indebted to them. When I was 13, we didn't have a whole lot, quite honestly. But we had a family, and they're both very remarkable, strong women. As I told you before, I've learned so much from them. But when I was 13, they both saved up and bought me a secondhand typewriter. And I didn't know how to type, but they knew I was going to teach myself how to type because they knew I wanted to be a writer. And it was on that typewriter that I wrote my first short story that I sold when I was 15, which changed the trajectory of my life.
What was that story?
It was called The Children Are Crying. It was in UC Berkeley, published an anthology called Across the Generations. And it was stories from people, different age groups. And so I was representing the teen crowd at an early age. But that's Nancy and Elizabeth. Elizabeth is an extraordinary artist herself. And Nancy ran a hip hop record label for a few years.
Wow. And so which is which on what side?
Nancy is the beautiful blonde, and Elizabeth's the one with the glass or with the hat on. And so just both two people I talk to every day. And just
you'll love this episode for sure, huh?
Oh, yes,
They're
yes,
they're
yeah.
definitely lovities, aren't they?
They are just lovely people, and Elizabeth, being a creative person herself, was so. I'm so fortunate to have had her in my young life because she made sure I had access constantly to the arts and to um, to just encourage creative expression from a very, like, if I
Mhm.
wanted to take a dance class, she made sure I was at the YMCA taking a dance class. I mean, just always had so much support, and just I draw on that. I mean, I'm sure a lot of that comes through in my writing of just how just my background and how I grew up and so forth, just freedom to be who I wanted to be. So feel very, very fortunate. But thanks for showing that picture of them. Those are my two moms.
That's right. Remember the TV series My Two Dads?
Yeah, I know.
Yes,
I
right,
kept waiting.
right.
My two moms. I'll probably have to write that at some point.
You'll have to write that at some point
Yeah.
as well, which, again, that's a really cool thing to show. We also have this, tell us about
Yeah.
this.
This is a brand new play of mine. It's called From Here I Can See Heaven. It's about a family in Georgia, and it's about the dysfunction of a family and how secrets can destroy
Mhm.
just all sorts of things. It's a drama. Um, yeah, I remember, I don't know if remember I told you I lived in Atlanta, Georgia, and
Yeah.
I'm really drawn as a reader and to everything to Southern literature, like Tennessee Williams. My all-time favorite novel is by Fannie Flagg. It's called Daisy Fay and the Miracle Man. But
Yes.
I read Southern literature and just love all things Southern. And
What is
my
it about it
father
that
is
speaks
actually
to
from
you?
the South, so
Is
I have
that why you think that, you have sort of like that connection?
yeah, definitely. I think my mother's family is all from Los Angeles, and
Mhm.
my father's family is all from Louisiana, and so it's a
Okay,
weird.
yeah.
I have a very it's an interesting dichotomy
A yin
of
and a
family
yang.
cultures and so forth.
Yes,
So,
which is great because it gives you different perspectives,
yeah.
absolutely. So, tell us about this one, and
S-
congratulations.
yeah. So it's I during the last election, there were including my own family. There's a lot of just fragmenting of families that happened over um, different belief systems and so forth. And I really wanted to write about the disintegration of a family based on secrets from the past. It's all centered around the death of sort of the patriarch of the family, and a sister, Kimberly, comes home for her father's services and is reunited with a man that she believes her father forbade her to see when she was 15, but it turns out that her sister had a hand in it. So it's just a lot of sounds like family drama, but it is family drama. But it's more than that too. I really, through the character of Kimberly, I wanted to write about what it feels like to go back home and that you've changed, but nobody else has really changed with you, and just feeling like a stranger in your own family in some ways. And so that's really where it came from. But yeah, it's the play's doing well, and we have a couple different productions of it planned in early 2023. We just did a virtual read with it with wonderful actors
You did.
that we to sort of finalize the script and so forth. So yeah, it's a great piece. And um, I work with a wonderful company called Performer Stuff that publishes the monologues from my stage plays that actors use for auditions, and the monologues from that particular play have done very well, um, and have been performed by a lot of actors, which I'm very thankful for.
That is so special and so cool, right? That's amazing. And again, when you see it actually, your dream and your vision come to life in such a glorious way. And then here we just see a bunch of different incredible things that you've
These are all
worked on.
novels. Yeah, these are 9 of my novels. Yeah, all very different books, but all near and dear, all written from a place of love for sure.
Tell us about the different ones we see.
Well, I'll tell you, Stronger Than This, which is down in the bottom corner, that was my most challenging novel to write. It's an epistolary novel, so I wrote it in the form of text messages and online chat conversations and news articles, and so it's not told in letters, lots of letters, and I don't know what I was thinking, Jim, but it seemed like a good idea. But I mean, I love the finished result. I mean, my editor Lee, I owe greatly for helping me put that book together. But I think that was about 10 novels in, and I really wanted to challenge myself as a writer. Lord, did I? So, but it's a really
say that
beautiful.
so casually. I think there was about 10 novels in.
Yeah, yeah,
One is a lot.
yeah. It's
That's
true.
amazing.
The Mesmerized, which is down in the opposite corner, that is one of my personal favorites. That's about a young girl whose older brother is killed in a hate crime. It's set in the 1980s in Sacramento, and it's about restorative reparative justice. And she gets a chance to have a conversation with the boy who killed her brother, and she has to make a very critical decision. She's 17 and in high school, but that book, I got a lot of attention from the American Library Association for that particular book because of the themes and so forth. So, Mesmerized, I think, is probably the book that the most young readers have responded to in a really beautiful way. But all of them, of course, they're all my darlings, and each of them have their own unique story of how they came to be and so forth.
All available on Amazon?
Yep.
That's cool, huh? That's really cool. This is really amazing to see all the work that you've been able to just bring forth for all of us. And again, with this latest Love in the Shadows, and it just really came out just a matter of last week, right?
Yeah, yeah. And you're the first person that I get to talk about Love in the Shadows
this
with. So.
is what we call a Jim Masters Show worldwide exclusive.
Yeah, exactly. And thank you for that too. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
And it's good. But I have a wonderful, wonderful husband, Edward. We've been together for 12 wonderful years. And I just have to say, I'm sure any writer, any artist would say this, but because I have such a terrific support system. But
also a writer as well?
No, not in the industry at all. He loves arts and crafts, but he is just such a my biggest cheerleader, my biggest support. But he's really good about telling me how it is too. So I need that in my life a lot too. But all of those novels were written with him in my life, and so I wouldn't have been able to do them without
the support. And right,
it all begins at home.
At times when you're saying, gee, I mean, do you ever get writer's block? Do you ever? I mean, I know there's a lot of writers that don't even use that phrase. They said this, I don't call it writer's block. I just pause and breathe a little bit. How about you?
Yeah, I think when I was talking about getting up early in the morning, and the words I put on page are not always great words at 5:30 in the morning, but you just got to get something on the page, right? And I think that working through that place of being stuck or feeling stuck is just writing is an exercise, and the more you do it, just the more stamina, the more everything that you have, just like anything else. And I think it's just so important not to censor yourself. A lot of writers, I think, edit as they go, and I think it's just more important just to get the words out. I edit on the weekend, so I write all week long, get this hodgepodge. But getting past that place of stuck, I think a lot of times people have. My friend Andrea Patton wrote a wonderful book called The Inner Critic that speaks to this, but that inside voice that says you're no good. And I think that self-doubt can create that place of stuck, and you got to just work past that and so forth. And it's hard for people to do that. There's days when I'm like, am I really supposed to be doing this with my life? But you just keep at it, and you keep getting up, and you keep doing the writing. And even if you write 100 words a day, you're still putting words down on paper, and eventually those 100 words add up, and then you have got a story to tell.
And you've been doing that for quite some time. Anything on the bucket list? Other things that you'd love to do? What are some other things that you like to do separate from writing? When you take that writing hat off, just to balance out life, what else does DM like to do?
I love film noir. I own a large film collection. I love old movies. I like Barbara Stanwyck and Claudette Colbert, and of course Joan Crawford and Betty Davis. And I love watching, because I so much attention was paid to story back then in those beautiful films. I love traveling, as I mentioned before. I'm going to sound sort of like I love board games. I love just sitting down and playing, Clue or Monopoly or something.
Clue, remember Clue? Yeah.
Yeah. I love, just hanging out. But I love going new places and meeting new people. I also love languages. I have an ear for languages, and semi-fluent in German, and getting pretty good at Spanish and so forth. But just I just love learning about people's stories and so forth. And of course, I'm a big reader. I read every day. So,
yeah. What do you like to read? What are some things that the writer likes to read?
Well, of course I read a lot of poetry. Carolyn Forche is one of my favorite poets. Joy Harjo is another favorite poet of mine. I will tell you though, I mean Judy Blume. I have to tell you, I just love. Absolutely. I've read everything that she's written, but I read a lot of Danielle Steele. So here's why. I think she's just extraordinary. I think the way that she's able to write, I mean, I've mirrored myself humbly after her because she writes so many books a year, but she has such a great process and a great system, and she's so lovely to her fans, and everything's from a place of gratitude. But she has built an empire off of her writing, and I'm so inspired by that. But I love her books. I think she's a great storyteller. At the end of the day, her books, they're simple, easy to access, relatable books and so forth. But I will tell you really quickly, when I was 13, when I was in junior high school, a poet or writer, sadly, who's no longer with us, Norma Fox Mazer. I don't know if you know who she is, but when I was growing up, she was a young adult author. She wrote many, many books. And her husband, Harry Mazer, also was a writer. And she came to my junior high school. And I had written, this was before I had my typewriter. I had written a bunch of stuff out on hand and had drawn like these covers with markers and just, crazy stuff that you do when you're 13. And the school said, we're going to choose 10 people to have lunch with her in the library. And I campaigned for that thing, Jim.
Did you really?
Anything I've ever campaigned for it. And they picked me. I was one of the 10. And I had read every book she'd ever written. And here was an adult that was doing something that 13, I saw I could do this as a career. And I remember I took one of those stories to her and I said, I really want to become a writer. And she looked at it and she said, you already are. And it was that moment from that author that I looked up to and read her books. She's still one of my favorite authors, that literally I went home and said, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And I was able to thank her daughter years later. And Lois Duncan is another great writer that I grew up reading, who wrote I Know What You Did Last Summer and a lot of great thrillers and so forth that has clearly had a tremendous impact on me. Sadly, Lois passed away, but I got to become friends with her and tell her how much her writing meant.
That's amazing. Have you had that too, where people have said the same to you, how much they enjoy your work?
It's always an out-of-body experience. I have to tell you, early in my writing career, my novel Swimming to Chicago that I talked about earlier, there's a suicide, mother commits suicide in that particular book. Very sad book to write. A librarian in a small town in a middle of the country kind of state had connected that book of mine with a student, and he was 15 and he reached out to me on social media. My heart broke because the message started out, last year I tried to kill myself 3 times, and this year I found your book. And he went on to talk about how he connected with the author or with the character and so forth. And up until that moment, I feel like I was writing for some of the wrong reasons. And it was such a profound moment for me as an author because it changed everything for me. It changed the trajectory of my writing career, the reason why I was getting up in the morning, because I realized that I had written something that without knowing, some young person that I'd never met and would never meet found that book when they needed to, connected with it, saw something in it, and it gave them solace and something. And I thought, okay, I've done my job as a writer. But it was such an important, significant moment for me. And from that moment on, I wrote from a completely different place, because it reminded me, it taught me the power of literature and the written word, that what I was writing wasn't just for myself. It was going out to the world, and somebody who needed it found it. And I'm forever grateful to librarians for many reasons. My own, I grew up in libraries, as you can imagine, but a lot of high school librarians have connected my books with young readers. And I have to tell you, whenever you get something like that, you're so just, it just hits you in a place that's so deep and personal. But gosh, it was just, such a life-changing moment for me. But I have had writers have reached out to me since then, the way that I've reached out to other writers, and it is strange. I mean, it's beautiful and wonderful, but I'm like, what? So every time that it happens, but
Me?
yeah, it is kind of that, like,
Hmm.
but it's sort of like a reversal of roles because I'm always the one that's, I love your writing kind of thing. So
Spotlighting them and sharing their work
yeah,
and celebrating them as well.
it's all about pay it forward.
It really is. What are some of those blessings and joys in your life that continue your desire to want to pay it forward through your crafts, David Matthew?
So many people have been there and are there for me each step of the way. I'm incredibly grateful. I have some of the most supportive people in the world that reach out to me on the daily, and I'm so lucky for that. But growing up, not having a whole lot, having that secondhand typewriter, writing from a place of passion with nothing to lose, nothing to gain. I feel like all of that has stayed with me. I think I will always know where I came from, if that makes any sense, and respect that and carry that forward. And any opportunity that I can to lift somebody else up the way that I've been lifted up, or give opportunity the way that I've been given opportunity. I could not do what I'm doing or be where I'm at without many people who helped me along the way and still help me. And I'm aware of that and I appreciate it. And I will continue to put that back out of the universe every chance I get, because I think it's so important. We are not just ourselves. Where our position in life, our station in life is not, we didn't get here on our own. And just
Mhm.
remembering those that are there for you. I have many people in my life that I've known for many years, 40 years, if not longer. And those are the people I like to keep close to me because they know who I am and they have my best interest at heart. I
Which
hope.
is beautiful.
No, they do. They really do.
That's fantastic. And, being surrounded with people like that is the essential, because they give you the sort of that mojo to keep going when not every day is perfect. Not every day is great, when I think that's absolutely a beautiful, beautiful thing. So this is exciting. And again, all of these works, everything as far as the novels and all, available at Amazon. That's fantastic. Any other places they can find, like websites, things of that nature? Do you have a website too?
I do have a website, which is dmatthewb, and I have two T's in Matthew, so dmatthewb.com. I have a page there that has it's a library, so it's anything that I've had published or it's available is all listed there. But also to people, I'm all over social media, so
Sure. Like we
people
all
reach
are
out to
these
me all the
days.
time, and
Yeah.
I'm there. So please feel free to reach out if I can help
Connect.
in some
And
way. I'm always happy to do so. And I've met
look
some.
who's with us.
Oh, I love George Burns.
I
I
know you
love
were
George
waiting
Burns.
for him, weren't you?
Yes, I love him.
One of our features here on the Jim Masters Show Live. He always pops in towards the latter part with a cigar and his tuxedo and his red hanky. And he said, thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. David Matthew learned a lot, appreciates your work. And he said, you knocked it out of the park, kiddo.
Oh, thank you. And thank you, Jim. I really appreciate you having me here. And your extraordinary show reaches and touches so many lives. I just really admire the work that you do and so happy to be a part of it. And thank you.
I appreciate that. I hope the show met whatever expectations you had and you enjoyed the time with me as much as I absolutely have with you, David Matthew.
Thank
Really?
you.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. Did you have dinner yet?
No, but I'm a couple hours behind you. So
You are a
I'm
couple hours
yeah.
behind us. Yes. So we have a foodie. I asked that because we have a foodie audience too. What is David Matthew going to eat?
I'm having leftover pasta tonight.
It's Monday, right? Leftover
It's Monday,
weekend.
Yeah. But I have to tell you, I mean, I married an extraordinary cook, so I'm very
So you're
spoiled.
very
Yeah.
blessed on many levels. Well, we'll continue to spread the word about all your fabulous work. Continue to spread the word about the Jim Master Show series. We would love that, my friend. And thanks for being an amazing guest here and revealing some exclusive things for the very first time on our show, and also being a faithful Loveity viewer as well. So now you get a chance to experience it from both sides. It's kind of full circle for you and kind of cool, huh?
Oh, it's been a wonderful experience. It's been amazing. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Jane in Sweden says, thank you, David, for being here. This has been interesting. Thank you, Jim. You're very welcome. Watching in Sweden, New York City. Thank you for being here, David. Great show. Kathleen Walker, you're very, very welcome. Merlin in Canada, you keep safe. Thank you for joining us here in Levity Hall. Thank you, Merlin. Jen Barry in Pennsylvania, David. You as you, I love you. You're a Zen inspiration. Come back soon. Love you. Sherry Larson in Kansas, one of our regular lovities as well. Thank you for joining us tonight, David Matthew, and sharing your life and books and plays with us. Librarians appreciate authors like you. Our job, she's a librarian, would be so much harder without you.
Thank you, Sherry.
Michelle, the publisher, thumbs up from the publisher. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, she's now in Levity. Hopefully you'll enjoy our continued series, Michelle. Great show, Jim. Thank you very much. And Nikki, thank you for joining us, David and Matthew. Good to see you. Nikki, Amy, who is a poet herself. David, thank you for shining your beautiful light on us. Absolutely, Amy. And thank you for being here with us as well. And Maureen says, you're such a humble man. God bless you. D. M.
Oh, thank you. God bless you.
I love that. I love that. Really, really cool stuff. Thanks for joining us, my friend. Really appreciate it. And we'll keep that porch light on for you. And you are welcome back anytime from JM to DM.
Thank you. I love that.
Thanks, my friend. You take care, okay? Enjoy the leftover pasta. You've earned it.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye now. David Matthew Barnes here on the Jim Masters Show Live, the Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series. We appreciate him being with us as well. Really a prolific writer, author, playwright, poet, screenwriter. His latest work, Love in the Shadows. Check it out on Amazon as well. It was just recently released, too, available in paperback and ebook. Really exciting, a romantic spy thriller from the best-selling author. Really, really cool stuff. And these, again, are just some of his works, just some. Novels, plays, short stories, and also a part of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, too. You guys know about that, right? The Chicken Soup for the Soul series. Hey, look who's with us tomorrow. She's currently starring in The Bold and the Beautiful on CBS. She's also an extraordinary actor in a lot of great shows, filmmaker as well. Yes, Garcia Pelowitz is going to be with us tomorrow here on the Jim Masters Show, live at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. It's going to be amazing. She is of Polish-American descent. She is really, really in the thick of it right now in terms of all these great shows and films and all these things that have come her way. But again, a lot of people know her for her recurring role on The Bold and the Beautiful on CBS. Look who's with us on Wednesday. Extraordinary actor Spencer Garrett. He is starring in an HBO Max fantastic film, The Winning Time. We're going to talk about that and so much more. You've seen him for years in movies and on television and so much more. He is going to be with us on Wednesday. We're so excited about that. We're looking forward to that. You know who's with us on Saturday? Patty Davis, wonderful author, Patty Davis, daughter of President Ronald Reagan and First Lady Nancy Reagan, joining us at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific this Saturday. For those of you watching live, Patty Davis, daughter of President Ronald Reagan and First Lady Nancy Reagan, joining us on the Jim Masters Show for an exclusive conversation this Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. We're thoroughly looking forward to it. Next Monday, Michael Leonard, who played, yes, the mom on The Waltons, with us next Monday. That's going to be amazing as well. And that's just a short list of some of the amazing guests that we have coming up. Did you see when J. Robert Spencer from Jersey Boys and the Midtown Men was with us? He's sang, performed. That was an amazing episode as well. You can check that out. Olga Thomas was with us from London, renowned composer. Composes music for the royal family in Great Britain and the UK, and of course is working on that Jubilee anthem, which is exciting, and so much more. And that's just a short list, gang, of some of the amazing guests. Hope everybody's doing well. It's so good to see all your smiley faces, as we say here on the Jim Masters Show. We're looking at some of these terrific comments that have been coming in throughout this broadcast. Again, if you ever want to comment in the JMS chat room live, when the show is live, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel anyway. We would love that because that lets us know that you're enjoying and appreciate all the work we do. You're then part of the JMS Lovity family, Lovity squad. There's no cost to subscribe, and click the notification bell so you never miss any of the amazing episodes that we have here in store for you right here at the home of the Jim Masters Show. So cool stuff here. Thanks everybody for being with us. We've got great shows that are coming up all week long for you. And again, if you're not watching this live, you're watching this later in the archives, because we do archive all the episodes, then just stay right here. Another great episode comes up for you. You can binge almost 660 episodes at the time of this show for all of you. And you're very welcome, Michelle. Welcome to the Lovity family, and spread the word for us. We love to see you here for the first time. We love when new folks discover our show. We love when our Lovities are here as well. Amber is here. Crowley. Hi, Jim and friends. Good vibes to all. Good to see you, Amber, as always. Christine in North Carolina. David Matthew, thanks for sharing so much about your career. You're a brilliant writer. I'm impressed with all your work. Happy you get to do what you love. Very enjoyable conversation. Christine in North Carolina, thank you for being with us as well, and all of you. I'm your host, Jim Masters. Many great shows coming up. You can binge watch almost 660 of them to enjoy. I just want to let you know, coming up soon, in about a week or so, legendary jazz trumpeter. He's worked with Quincy Jones, Frank Sinatra, Harry Connick Jr., Woody Herman, you name it. Roger Ingram is coming up in just about a week or so here on the Jim Masters Show live. Again, Cassia is with us tomorrow. That's going to be amazing, from the Bold and Beautiful, and so much more. Spencer Garrett on Wednesday. Cool stuff. If you ever miss any of our episodes, or you want to just go back early in the archives, check it all out and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It doesn't cost anything to do that. All right, a couple more comments, and then we're going to wrap it up. What a great conversation this has been, and so nice to get to know another wonderful author. I know we've had so many on our show, right? So many different, every show is something different. Every show is something unique. And that's what we love about doing the Jim Masters Show live entertainment, lifestyle, variety talk show series, because no two shows are the same. We do something different, something special for all of you, and you. Thank you, Jim. And again, welcome home after your wonderful weekend with the family. Yeah, we had a fabulous several days actually up in Massachusetts with our family at our cousin's lake front house, and with all our relatives. And it was actually a meaningful and really a beautiful moment, meaningful, inspirational reason why we got together to celebrate a life. And it was just magical. Nothing tops family, I tell you, folks. Nothing tops family. We're very close with our family. We've got a big family on both sides, very close. Another great show. Have a wonderful week, Lovity family. We are here for all of you. Thank you, Anne, in Southern California. We don't say goodbye here. We say see you later. We say ciao, cheers, slancha. We say hasta la vista, avida zane, sayonara, moi loop. Did I leave anything else out? We will be back tomorrow for all of you watching live. And then again, for those of you who are sticking around, you stay right here. Another great episode comes up. Thank you, Nikki, for being here as well. Thanks for watching this episode of the Jim Masters Show right here on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. We love you all. Take care. Be good to one another. Take care of one another. And we shall see you on the next episode. I'll be sitting right here in this chair waiting for all of you. Well, maybe I have some other things I got to do, but I will make sure I'm in the chair, ready to do the show for all of you when the time comes, which is our next episode. A couple more coming in here. TTFN, ta-da for now. Love it. Ta-da. Or ta-ta, right? See you, gang. You're the best. We've got the best audience out there in lovely land, watching and supporting everything we do here at the Jim Masters Show. Take care. Be well. This was a fun episode, as they all are. We'll see you, and you on the next one. Jim Masters, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time, be good to one another, as we said. Love one another. Take care of one another. Super chat. Thank you very much, Kathleen Walker. We appreciate that very much. So beautiful of you to do that. So nice of you to do that. in a nice green color too. Thank you. I appreciate that, Kathleen. That's Super Chat, Super Emoji, Super Stickers. It's available when the show is live. It helps support our series and all the incredible amount of work that we do. And we thank you for doing that. Those of you who have done that as well. She did that, and great show. Thank you, Jim. Glad I'm able to be here this week. We're always glad when you're here as well. Kathleen Walker in New York City. So that's something that you're available to do, gang. And we personally thank you on the air. Your comment rises to the top. Beautiful color. And the whole world sees it in perpetuity, too. That'll always be there, seen. Even when people see this in the re-airs, they'll always see those who support it. Now, if you ever miss the opportunity to do it when the show is live, there is something called Super Thanks. It's a little heart icon that you see underneath every episode. And if you click that, that allows you to support our series as well and all the episodes that you enjoy. Don't forget to give this episode a thumbs up and leave a comment. It's very important. You leave a comment. We're very responsive. Leave a comment on this episode if you have any comments, questions, or just want to say hi, or tell us how much you enjoy this episode or any of the shows that we do. Thank you, Kathleen, as well. Always beautiful spirit that you are. Thanks for that wonderful super chat and support of our show. We're very kind of you to do that, and we really appreciate that. All right, gang, you be well, okay? Take care of one another. We'll see you on the next one. We'll be here on the Jim Masters Show. Thanks for being with us right here and right now. We really, really appreciate that. You as well, Kathleen. Thanks again for that warm super chat. Well received. Be well, gang. Jim Masters here signing off for now. Stick with us. Don't go anywhere. Another episode comes right up for those of you who are watching this in the archives. Take care. We'll see you on the next episode of the Jim Masters Show. Cheers.